Glenda McGadney, Detroit, Michigan, Murray Wright High School. Used to be Murray Wright High School, now it's got another name. Used to be a very prominent area in the 1940s and 50s and 60s. And then around 1972, because of urban renewal and the federal government, all of the buildings on the south side of West Forest, 12th Street, Grand River, Canfield, were removed. A viable community, in spite of the 1967 riot, that area was still intact.
Where are we, Glenda, if you don't mind?
We're in the area of Detroit, Michigan on the west side, 12th Street and West Forest. Right behind us, this building, right over there, was where the Sonic Temple met there, where all the glass. Right, the vacant lot, right next to that area, there was a gun shop there called Nums. That was just torn down probably 3 years ago. That's where the big Army tanks were to protect that gun shop, because they did not want African Americans or anyone else going into there. So our neighborhood was very protected during the time of the civil disobedience in 1967, July. Where you see the cranes over here, where they're building for the veterans facility, veterans who have all kind of issues, all of that was housing. All of that has been, and businesses, that's been vacant from 1972 until the present time. They just dedicated this ground, they just had the groundbreaking ceremony last Friday, even though they already started building. There's a church on the other side of the school. It used to be called the Church of God of Detroit. We can walk around and see that church. That's the church that I used to attend. It was on the corner of Vermont and Hancock. And I lived on Vermont and Caroline on the south side of Forest, which some people would now say West Forest. We had everything we needed in our community. We did not have to go anywhere. You had grocery stores, auto dealerships, department stores, everything. But once we had the civil disobedience in 1967, people began to leave, and the major stores left the city. We still, even now, up until recently when we got Myers, since 1967 until we got Myers a couple years ago, we never had a major grocery store in the city again. Over here is where the church that I used to attend, called Church of God of Detroit, and that church relocated to Schaefer near Plymouth. And at one time, the high school used this building for plays and other activities. From my understanding, they don't use that anymore because they said it needs major renovation.
And this is a church you used to attend, huh?
Yes. The pastor at that time was David Jenkins. He's now deceased. But this is the neighborhood. And then you have St. Leo Church over here. We used to have a Catholic school, which is now a charter school. This is the area. And it's even more viable now because it's in walking distance of Wayne State. You're right here at major I-96. You're right here on Grand River. And when I was growing up years ago, we had the trolley cars all over the place, going up and down the Forest, Grand River, until they decided that we no longer needed that mass transit, and they moved the trolley cars, I think, to Mexico. But this is the church.
Wow. They don't do anything here now, right?
Not that I know of. the headquarters for this particular church is Anderson, Indiana. And there are some other churches of God in the city of Detroit. 2 on Schaefer. One is called Metropolitan Church of God, but this was kind of like the sister church. And my understanding, they don't do anything because there's major renovations that needs to take place.